Hi everyone, welcome to this week's Writing Wednesday. This vlog is probably going to go up a little bit late today, and I'm sorry about that, but it's back to school this week, which, although that sounds like I should have a lot more time than I have had recently, now my children are back at school, the reality is my youngest is just starting, and so she's going through her settling in couple of weeks, which basically means she's in for about 30 seconds a day. It's exhausting. I had a lot more childcare before she started school. Enough about my domestic problems. This week's Writing Wednesday, I thought we could kind of do like a bit of a combination of what we were talking about. So the first couple of videos were quite sort of self-reflective and thinking about yourself and how you can use writing to kind of express yourself. Last week we did something completely different, which was focusing on nature writing and sort of looking outside yourself into your environment. This week we're doing like a bit of a combination of the two. So what I thought we would do this week is talk about using a narrative or a story as a way to kind of express something that you're going through. It can be quite a powerful tool because sometimes it can be difficult to just sort of explain how you're feeling or verbalize how you're feeling, putting it into words. It can either be a bit overwhelming or you can't quite find the words to express how you're feeling. And sometimes taking something else, something that's outside of yourself, can be quite a good way of you working through some of those emotions. I think a really good example of this is a course that I did a few years ago. We had to pair up with someone, we had to discuss something that was kind of ongoing in our lives at that time. And then the other person had to think up a story or a narrative as a way to kind of make them think about their situation slightly differently. So I paired up with a girl who, she was a really successful businesswoman. She had absolutely loads going on, and she basically felt like she had no time to do anything because there was always the like must do, has to happen now, that was taking up all of her life and all of her time. So as she was telling me all of this, I just kept picturing like a really busy, like buzzy bee, cliched, I know, thinking on the spot. That tends to be what happens. But anyway, I ended up telling her this story about this buzzy bee, that it was like the best nectar collector in its hive, and it thrived on being one of the best nectar collectors. And every day from the moment it woke up, it was just out there, just focusing on those flowers, focusing on each individual flower, getting as much nectar out of it as possible, and that was it. And then I can't quite remember the whole story, but suddenly, like, the bee looked up and there was this garden, a whole beautiful garden that it never noticed before because it had always been so busy focusing on each individual flower and just getting the nectar out of that one individual flower. But actually it was part of a much bigger system. It was part of something much bigger than that, and seeing this huge beautiful garden just made it realise you had to think of these stories just like on your feet there and then. The minute they stopped talking, you had to go back with the story. So, you know, it might not be the most highly tuned, developed story, but it made the point that, you know, that yes, it's brilliant that she's so hardworking, but as she said, you know, she's kind of not getting to enjoy the fruits of her labour. She's not getting to enjoy all of the outcome of her hard work because she's so focused on working, and that maybe, you know, that she kind of needs to bring in a bit of balance. And certainly at the time she said to me about how that just really kind of summed up how she was feeling, and actually it was right. You know, she kind of did need to kind of stop and take stock every now and then and just remember that she is sort of part of a bigger picture. So that's why I think it can just be a really powerful tool sometimes. It's so silly, and it was such a simple story. You know, this is not Chaucer, this is not Shakespeare, but it was a way of getting this lady to kind of look outside of herself. And I've often found narratives and stories just a fantastic tool for doing that. It's last year I had a play put on at my university, which was about two parents who were at a disagreement over how they should progress with their very young son's cancer treatment. And I remember when it first came up and somebody said something about writing about cancer, and I said, oh no, it's just, I just thought it was a cool story. It's got nothing to do with me. No, absolutely nothing to do with me. And then I remember watching the play, watching the first rehearsal, and being like, wow, this is really close to what happened to me. Like, I felt very detached from it, but clearly when I watched it back, I was working through some of the emotions and some of the scenarios and some of the situations that I'd been in. But by doing it through the parent of a child who had cancer, it was kind of giving me that level of detachment where I could fully explore lots of different emotions, and lots of thoughts that kind of surrounded cancer treatment without being like, well, first I did this and first I did that, and making it very specific to me. I was kind of able to explore a lot more emotions that I hadn't even realised were sort of inside me. And that's one of the things I think is really powerful about this tool. It kind of gives you the opportunity to look at a situation, but from multiple different angles. You know, you can have different characters who handle it in different ways or anything. I think sometimes when you're just writing about yourself, it can feel very deep, it can feel very personal, and it can sometimes make you almost recoil because you don't want to have to like deeply feel and kind of go through all of the emotions that you felt when such and such a thing happened. Whereas when you're writing a narrative like the cancer story with the parents and stuff, it gives you this level of detachment that allows you to kind of explore these emotions without it feeling quite so raw. So obviously these are two kind of extremes of the ways that you can use narrative. One's a sort of very sweet Buzzy Bee story, and the other one's quite a full-on hardcore parents, you know, disagreeing about their child's cancer treatment. But the sort of essence is still the same. It's just this using a story, any story, as a way of kind of figuring out maybe some stuff that's going on for you, figuring out stuff that's going on for other people, and just allowing the story to kind of carry you and allow you to kind of work through anything that you know you may not even be aware that you're feeling inside. The other nice thing about a tool like this is it just kind of gets you into the habit of telling stories, and I honestly think that writing and any type of creativity, it's a muscle, and the more you're using it, the better you become. You know, you wouldn't not go running and then try and run a marathon. You know, it just doesn't work like that. You kind of need to do like short stints first and build up to it. And if you took 6 weeks off, you're not going to run the marathon in the same time that you would have when you'd been heavily training for it. You know, it's just, and I do think that writing's the same. The more you're doing it, and the more you're starting to think in terms of like narratives or little bits of stories here and there, it's amazing how the more you do it, the more you think like that, and the more it kind of builds up, and the more creative you just become in your everyday life. So I think it's another really good tool for that as well, of like, even if you're not writing great stories that you like or that you love or anything, don't worry about that. Just, for the time being, just keep writing. Like Dory with her swimming, but just keep writing. I actually do need to go and get my daughter in a minute because time is up already. Oh, blimey. Okay, so I'm going to go and get her. I really hope that you've enjoyed the video. I hope it's given you a little bit more inspiration. If you do like it, please do give it a thumbs up. The more people we can get kind of in this community and talking about writing and what works for them and stuff, I think like the better it's going to be. So please do kind of let your friends know. I love that the fact that you've already started doing this, some of you, but please do feel free to kind of share any thoughts that you have with everybody else. I had quite a lot of questions this week about whether or not I was on Twitter and stuff. I'm going to leave all the details in the description box below. So Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, they're the only three that I use. I can't cope with any more than that. But yeah, please get in touch. I'd love to hear from you guys. And until next week, have a good week. Bye.